Welcome to the Natural Super Kids podcast, where you will discover practical strategies to inspire you to boost the health and nutrition of your kids. I'm Jessica Donovan, a qualified naturopath specialising in kids' health, and I want to make it as easy as possible for you to raise healthy and happy kids. Let's get into it. Hello, how are you? I hope you're doing really well. I just want to say thank you for tuning in to the podcast. I just love sharing information this way, and I appreciate you listening. Now, we've been talking a bit about the pesky things we have to deal with as parents when it comes to our kids. So far we've covered worms and we've covered molluscum contagiosum, which is a viral skin condition. And we're continuing with the viral skin conditions today and talking about warts, which are really common and don't cause too much of an issue. But I do just want to empower parents to know that there are things that they can do to support and get rid of those pesky warts in their kids. And this is very translatable to adults as well. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, a bit about warts, how to treat them and prevent them naturally. I think most of us have had some experience with warts. I know I had a couple of warts on my hand when I was a child, and I remember going to the doctor and getting them frozen off. So they're bumps on the skin. They're not particularly harmful, but they do spread really easily, particularly on kids. So you can just leave them alone. And the research shows that 65% of warts resolve within 2 years with no treatment at all. But if you do want to treat or prevent warts naturally, there are some things to consider, which is what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. So let's start off with the basics. What are warts? Warts are growths on the skin that are caused by a virus. We talked about a viral skin condition called molluscum contagiosum last week, as I said. I just love saying that word. And this is the warts are caused by a different virus called the HPV virus, the human papilloma virus. There are different types of warts. There's common warts, there's flat warts, there's plantar warts, but they can all be treated the same way with what we're going to be talking about today. So warts can occur anywhere on the body, but some common spots are on the knees, the hands, and the feet. Plantar warts are found on the weight-bearing areas of the feet, such as the heel and the ball of the foot. And plantar warts can get quite big and quite nasty, and they can cause a bit of an issue in terms of being quite sore to walk on. So they're not harmful, but they do spread very easily, as I said. And they can spread from person to person with direct skin-to-skin contact. They can also spread to other parts of the body on the same person, and even indirectly through pools and showers. You can use medical approaches to remove warts, such as freezing them off or using wart solutions and creams, but the most important thing to remember is that it's a virus that is causing the warts. So supporting the immune system to fight off the virus itself can be a really effective way at getting rid of warts and preventing them from coming back. So warts are more common in kids than adults. Why is this? So kids are generally less hygienic than adults, so this makes it easier to spread the virus to others as well as different parts of their own bodies. And kids have a still developing immune system, so they're more vulnerable to infections. That goes for skin infections such as warts, as well as, those colds and flus and coughs and things as well. And kids spend more time in communal pools. Swimming lessons, which are very popular here in Australia. The local swimming pool is a common way for warts to spread indirectly, as the virus loves to live in warm water. And also in those communal showers, that you use after swimming lessons or when you're camping, that sort of thing is they're breeding grounds for the HPV virus and that spread of warts. So let's talk about how to treat warts using some natural remedies. So you can go for the external treatments, which both of my children have had warts at various times. And we've been able to get on top of them just with the external treatments without going for the internal remedies that support the immune system. But it can be good to consider both. So let's talk about the topical treatments, those external natural remedies that you can use to get rid of warts. There's two main topical treatments that I recommend. One is lemon essential oil. So I used this with really great results for my son. He had a plantar wart on the bottom of his foot. This was when we were traveling around Australia in a camper. So we were using communal showers regularly, the old trick of like wearing your thongs or flip-flops in the shower. He probably wasn't that good at. So it's no surprise really that he got this plantar wart. We literally just applied lemon essential oil. It's what I had on hand. I applied it neat, so just straight with a cotton bud, and within a couple of weeks it was gone. But he doesn't have, any issues with sensitive skin, and I did test a little bit first for him. I felt confident using that lemon essential oil neat, but for sensitive skin or younger sort of children, you might want to dilute that essential oil, that lemon essential oil, with a carrier oil such as coconut oil or almond oil or something like that. So if you're unsure, you can put a small amount of neat essential oil onto one spot and just monitor it for any irritation or pain before using it elsewhere. But that worked brilliantly for him, and it was a pretty nasty big one on the bottom of his foot. The other great topical treatment for warts is apple cider vinegar. So it's a great option because often you already have it in your pantry. You can use a cotton bud and apply the apple cider vinegar to warts once or twice a day. So you can try one of these options as an external approach. Both, can be really effective. As I said, we personally had some really good results with the lemon essential oil. So if your child has recurring warts, or that their immune system could do with a little bit of support, you might want to think about some internal treatment as well. So you can use nutrients that boost the immune system, and the two that I really like to focus on are zinc and vitamin D. So these are really crucial nutrients for the immune system, and kids can often be deficient in these nutrients as well. So zinc, I talked about this in last week's episode in molluscum. You'll definitely hear some very similar sort of treatment options for both molluscum and warts because they're both viruses. And so zinc is a great nutrient to support the immune system to fight off all kinds of infections and viruses, from warts to molluscum to the common cold. So zinc actually helps to increase lymphocytes, which are an immune cell that attack viruses such as the human papillomavirus, which is causing the warts. So if someone has low zinc levels, which, as I said, a lot of children do have zinc deficiency or suboptimal levels of zinc, they will be at a higher risk of getting infections such as warts, molluscums, colds and flus, that sort of thing. So when it comes to zinc in the diet, we can get zinc in foods such as red meat, fish, seafood, and pumpkin seeds or pepitas. But diet alone may not be enough to give your kids the zinc that they need. So you might want to look at a supplement, particularly if it, with fussy eaters, can be really low in zinc. And just a little side note, zinc deficiency can lead to more fussy eating. So we've got this kind of spiral, this perpetuating cycle, I should say. And if you want to know more about fussy eating, I'll just link to our fussy eating podcast series in the show notes. that's just a bit of a side note, but I often see kids that are fussy eaters with zinc deficiency. So I often do recommend a zinc supplement for kids that are dealing with viral conditions such as warts. So if you do want to try a zinc supplement, I do recommend working with a practitioner. But if you want to pick something up yourself, make sure you look for a zinc chelate supplement. So it's a form of zinc that is really easily absorbed, and chelate is CHELATE. So zinc is a great one. And then vitamin D is another nutrient that is essential for healthy immunity. So it's really good for preventing recurrent infections, which is why I often use it with kids that are constantly sick. But it just overall improves those immune defenses. So to get enough vitamin D, you need plenty of sunlight exposure during the day. And over the colder months, this can be really tricky. Vitamin D levels do tend to drop off over winter because there's less exposure to the required UV rays. So you do need to, maybe look at supplementation to maintain good levels of vitamin D through the winter. But you can also make sure that your kids are getting outside, in that midday sun in the winter. That can be, so focusing on that can really help maintain healthy vitamin D levels through the winter. You might want to look at supplementation though, as I said, but you do want to be working with a practitioner to make sure you're not going overboard with vitamin D. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble nutrient, so we don't just get rid of what we don't use, like vitamin C, for example. So we don't want to go kind of overboard with vitamin D. So we have the option of an express consultation through our website. I will make sure that link is in the show notes, so you can get some really good, solid, qualified advice on not just levels of, dosages of nutrients for your particular child, but also access to the high quality practitioner only products that we can give you through an express consult as well. So there's also another remedy that I want to talk about, that I did talk about in last week's episode in molluscum, and it is the medicinal mushrooms. I love these for any sort of viral infection because they have a two-way action. They're antiviral, but they also boost immunity at the same time. And actually, they do something else to the immune system, which is regulate the immune system. So they can be really great for allergies and atopic conditions as well, such as eczema and asthma. So I love to use a combination that has 4 different medicinal mushrooms in it: the reishi, shiitake, cordyceps, and coriolis. These mushrooms do tend to taste pretty awful in a liquid form, but thank goodness now there is a powdered form of these nutrients that I prescribe and use regularly with my own family as well. So to get access to this, you will need to book an express appointment as well. But, you can look around for supplements in your health food shop that contain those mushrooms if you would like to as well. But the combination of those medicinal mushrooms, some zinc and some vitamin D can really help to boost your kids' immune system so they can fight off the virus that is causing the warts. As I said, though, it's often not necessary to do that internal approach. That external approach can be effective. So I would start with that unless you really know your kids need that extra immune support. So I hope this has given you a bit more of an insight into warts. It's a lovely topic to talk about, but I know it's a really common issue. Both, like as I said, both of my kids have had it. My son had that plantar wart, and then my daughter got multiple sort of smaller warts on her big toe, I think it was, underneath. And the lemon essential oil worked brilliantly for her as well. Okay, so I would love for you to send this episode on to someone you know who might be interested in finding out more about how to treat warts naturally in their children. And as of next week, we are going to be diving into an immunity series for a good few weeks. So I'm going to be talking about a few different topics around winter illnesses, boosting immunity. I mean, we've kind of, touched on some of these themes in the last couple of weeks when we're talking about warts and molluscum, because they are infections. But we're going to be diving into those common winter illnesses and what you can do to prevent and treat and minimize infections in your family this winter. If you've got a particular topic you would like me to talk about, then please send me a message on Instagram. If you're on Instagram at Natural Super Kids, you can just send me a message, or you can email us, jessica@naturalsuperkids.com. We've already had some really good ideas from the Natural Super Kids community, so thank you for that. And yeah, I'm always open to suggestions for podcast episodes, because I want to be talking about those subjects that are going to be most helpful for you. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great week, and I'll be back in your ears next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Head on over to our website, naturalsuperkids.com, for the show notes for this episode, as well as a whole heap of inspiration to help you raise healthy and happy kids. I'll see you next week.